All right, so I'd like to welcome everybody to our second June, great, PAB Board Meeting. We'll start off with our introductions. Terry?
Sherry Walker, Interim Director. I did also permanent cornerback here, Secretary to the board.
Rabbi Doris Settle, and I Northwest Council team.
Larry Knox, Chair of the PAB Board.
Bill Clark, Mayor's appointee to the PAB Board.
Good evening, I'm Gabriel Pedicina, and I sit on one of the PAB alliances.
All right, first matter of business is approval of our meeting minutes from our last meeting. They're emailed out and are also printed in front of you. Is everybody?
Move it.
Any changes, additions? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next is our staff report.
So we're excited to indicate that the new website will launch before the end of the month. And we're scheduling some promotional activities around the launch. The PAB will be present at a Juneteenth event this weekend on the upcoming block community fairs as well. So we can more community outreach and information sharing. And new billboards will be going up this month as well and targeting the Latinx community. That's public affairs and community outreach. In terms of operations, we are happy that we're interviewing for the position of Director of Case Management. And those will be concluding soon. After the budget passes, we'll be interviewing more individuals filling more positions, so we're really excited about that. All the city mandated trainings have been conducted, and special kudos to Roosevelt and Tonetti for setting all of those up for and scheduling and preparing all of that. A lot of work. And the city DS and real estate department reached out. We've had a meeting today talking about future office space, future location. In terms of investigations, we're interviewing for senior attorney positions, and tomorrow is the closing for the director of the investigations unit. We're excited to be interviewing for those positions as well. And we had a very productive meeting today, clarifying meeting, productive meeting with Captain Sweatman for the Rochester Police Department and Sergeant Gallagher, along with our digital analyst. Still in the process of working some of the policy and oversight. That is transparency proposal recommendations was sent to the mayor, police chief, council representative. So we're really looking forward to getting the feedback from the police chief on that document. And also you have an update on the investigation, the process, the progress, process itself. But to date, we have 347 complaints that come to date.
Okay. I'm assuming someone's gonna get into it later, but when I look at the 347 complaints, and basically we're saying 69 are closed and 61 are pending. Now, the pendings, are they pending because jurisdiction, or I would like to just get a little more information on how that works.
So pending close, they have to have a final step. Some of them may be pending close because they may be waiting for a review for the administrator. Also, they may be pending close and they're putting on the panel, so putting those process.
Any other questions for Sherry? Thank you, Sherry. We'll move on to the chair's report. So tonight, sure, well, if you're watching this, you're probably not there, but I know many supporters of the agency are over at City Hall. It's a public hearing tonight before the budget votes that are coming up later in the month. And I know we have people there that are expressing support for our work here at the PAB, which we greatly appreciate. If you haven't had a chance yet, definitely reach out to your council member, to express your support for the work that we're doing. And as I said before, we really want to make sure we have access to the same amount of funding that we had in our previous year as we continue this work and as we've got much further along in our work from where we were a year ago and from the beginning of the agency. So I won't repeat everything I've said many times before, but again, we're really hoping that council gives us the same access to funds that we've had in the previous years. And we can see where we are next year in regards to what a proper budget may be going forward using this year, which is a better base year. We continue to have conversations with the administration. We had a good meeting, Sherry and I, with Chief Smith and President Melendez and City Legal Department about many of the issues that we've been working through and talking about in regards to access and just things going on within the agency and the board, making sure that we have, and this is something that wasn't always or needs to be in the past, clarity and trust between our work that we do here as board members and the work the staff is doing and the city government that we are a part of. And just making sure those relationships are clear and that we are working towards the same goal. And communication is really important in that. And I'm really glad to hear Sherry's report earlier about working through with Captain Sweat and some of our access issues. Again, the charter we feel is pretty clear about us having direct access. That hasn't happened yet, but we're working through other things until we do get to that. Make sure that information is needed for our staff to do the work that the community has asked them to do. So those are continuing conversations. And again, really happy that we are communicating better, I think, on all ends. And there's still a lot of work to get done and a lot of clarity to how we do the work that needs to be set, but it's happening and it's moving. Also, as we get into the summer and there's events going on, and Sherry had mentioned this with, we'll be at Juneteenth, Rock the Block and other community events. If you have a community event, if you have something that you would like to see the PAB at, please reach out to the staff and we can show up. Say if you got more than 5 people in your backyard and it's a barbecue, you want us to drop off some flyers, we'll come. If you have a community meeting or a community group or some organization that you're part of, you want to find out more about our work, we have materials and information that we can share and staff that may be able to attend that meeting. So please do reach out to us so you can have a clear understanding of what we do here, what is actually a complaint, what we do is our policy work. We want to make sure that you have that understanding. Our new website, which I'm really happy to hear is going up by the end of the month, will also be able to help with that, with having that clarity of the work that we do and you being able to track and see what has happened there. It's a lot of work that's gone on in this agency, from hearings happening to policy recommendations to other work, and you'll be able to see a lot of that on the website with some of the reports and information that will update you on where we are with numbers on our investigations. Reviews, yeah. Reviews, thank you. Reviews, not, yeah, any questions on the chair's report?
Do we have any indication on how council is gonna vote regarding the budget?
We had a crystal ball, that would probably be as good as my answer. I mean, majority of council has said, they support the work, and they want to properly fund us. But, what I would like clarity on, I think the community would like clarity on is just that any resources that we need access to up and above, what they're currently talking about budgeting at would be there. I mean, I don't think it's a problem of having the money available, because I think it is there within the council's budget pretty clearly. Just it being clear that if the work is determined by our staff that they need more resources, either for staff or training or something else to do our work, that we will have access to that money. So that's just the clarity that I think we're looking for. I'm confident and hopeful that we'll get there, but that's why it's important to speak up to your council members and for us to say that publicly also.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the chair's report?
I have a question. I don't know if it was mentioned in the last board meeting, is there a tentative calendar date for when the next court hearing for the whole appeal for the decision?
Yeah, we don't know yet. I think that came up. We did ask council if they heard anything from the lawyer that's doing that case for the city and for us. And it's going to be this year, hopefully, but yeah, there isn't a set court date. Now that there's a new chief judge, more cases have gone along further. There are other cases that were ahead of ours, I guess, in the docket that are being heard first. So unless that's changed in the last week, but as of last week, there wasn't a date yet. And this is for the state to decide, court decide if we actually have the disciplinary power that the charter specifies and that the people voted for. Any other questions? All right, start with the training committee. The staff, like Sherry had mentioned, had just finished a lot of training over the past last month. We have asked for clarification, and I did follow President Melendez, and he's working on getting, when we talked earlier in the week, he's working on getting some more clarification about our trainings as a board, as opposed to what the agency staff have to do. And then we're to have our ideas of what we want that training to look like going forward, just so we're all on the same page, especially as we bring on, we have a few new board members and we're about to get a couple more new board members as they get into the trainings that are needed, making sure that we have clarity and access to those trainings. So those are conversations that we're moving along on, and had a good conversation with President Melendez and his staff about getting more information about that. And as a board, we'll work closely with council to make sure we get all the trainings that are needed as board. The staff is pretty far along in getting theirs done also. Search committee.
So we'll be finalizing agreeing on the final job description for the executive director tonight, and able to send back them to prospective search agencies, I guess is the way to put it, as soon as that happens. If I could add something else about training, too, some of us were at a training last week that was led by the woman who's in charge of training for the city, and she was very open and interested in hearing what specific board issues and topics we need to cover. So that was, I just want to say thank you for that receptivity.
Yeah, definitely. But the model for this has not existed in the city before. So there is a few bumps and bruises along the way in regards to many things, even something as obvious as training. But yeah, the city has given every indication about wanting to work with us. We're a volunteer board, so it's a little bit different than being a full-time staff, but there is more specific training that we want to make sure we get, and they're open to working with us on that.
I did have one question after we had our search committee meeting. And that is the budget that will be allocated to hire a search firm. Because as we know, that is not a inexpensive ordeal. And those are the major questions that I had that came up. So is there an allocation for us?
Yes, is the short answer.
And we'll find out what that is, right?
So Sherry put a number in that council that was appropriate from,
Okay.
based off other searches, and there was any pushback at all from council on that number.
Yes. Great.
Any old business?
I just want to make sure we put in the minutes, that we have, the panel has reviewed and closed 4 cases. And, one case was returned to the one commission to the order. And then we have one.
Mhm.
Thanks for the reminder, Sherry. We have mentioned that the last couple of meetings, but we've got reviews, we've done reviews of cases. And we've sent those over to Chief Smith also, so that whole process, which is going to be different than the process later once we get the decision to investigate on disciplinary power, but that process of us reviewing cases and sending that over to the chief, that is happening. And it's I'm really glad it is, and good work from the staff in getting us there.
Will we be voting on the revised job description tonight, or does that come later? Okay.
Actually, Mary, could you hear that?
Yeah, here.
I asked, will we be voting on the revised job description for the executive director tonight, or will they come later after further review?
Yeah, it comes later, and also there is, I think the city has to look at that at some point too. We have to make sure we have, proper, citywide posting and making sure they're part of the process is okay also. But we're doing the heavy, you guys have done the heavy lifting on it, which we appreciate. Anything for new business? Yes, Mary.
I don't know if it's that you put in your business, but a couple of comments. It's raining, and it was excellent. It's really good. Second, I'm working on a couple of projects that involve stakeholder engagement. And I also go on Twitter sometimes and Facebook and let a few clients report. And if action definitely the pair is against it. And the movement is from the police. And I've been thinking people can take well with themselves what's going on. But many people in Rochester don't have access to media, to the Parliament. And they listen to whatever it's flying by the blocks that I have. One that when we incorporate the notion of stakeholder engagement into our promotion of the plan, we can step what it is. It's one of the civic ways of engaging stakeholders. And it might be worthwhile to explain what stakeholders are, because none of them want to know. It's people with an interest in an area and an agency in action. These are taxpayers. These are people that use the public. So I can talk with you about their leadership. My second thought, is there a way for us to promote the fact that the city needs mobile and the app, the block, good police officers in the city project? Is there a way for us to do that?
Yeah, definitely the stakeholder, your first part, yeah, definitely talking with Sherry and our community outreach team about getting more stakeholders involved. I know they've had many of those conversations. I know also, and this is, I'm not sure where this is within the policy team, So there has, been a discussion in the community about like what the right size of police department could be and what, just, I think as we do work in regards to advocating for what the community needs, I wouldn't want to predispose a decision, of where we are and, head of our policy team, if that's something that comes before them. But I think the reason that we need access to data, and it goes back to our direct access questions. When community or others say they feel X or Y about what RPD needs, and all we want something that is good for the community, RPD, the city, us on the board agency, but we need data to be able to back that up. And us not having direct access to data, us not being able to see patterns, us not being able to see everything that goes on outside individual cases makes it harder for us to kind of, as a board or as a staff, to give something to us as a board to make a decision on in regards to, what staffing looks like within the RPD. I would say this is something good conversation I had with our policy team, because there has been conversations about, what is appropriate work for officers, what's appropriate work for the community to do. There's a lot of discussion around that. I just don't want to get ahead of our policy team, but I think that is definitely, those kind of issues are things that our policy team can work on, and we have suggestions for them to work on that. Definitely, we could bring that up to them, or you could bring that up to them. But them having that access to that data to be able to make like system-wide recommendations is really important for them to get us something that's really appropriate to share with the public. Any other new business or questions before we move on? All right, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn to executive session to talk about potential litigation and hiring us for a specific position.
That's all. No.
Thanks. Specific position being executive director, I should be specific. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Pull me off front.
25 seconds once we start, but you don't, you. To close it, we don't need fives. Well, let's wait till Mary leaves. All right, I'd like to welcome everybody back to our PAB board meeting. We just came out of executive session. No votes were taken in executive session. I'd like to make a motion to close and end the meeting.
Move.
All in favor? All right, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for joining.